Hey everyone, hope everybody is doing well. It's a cool night right now. Temperatures are now getting into the 60s. I think this is probably the coolest night we've had in months, ironically. So, I want to talk about a few things. Right now is the anniversary of 9/11, about the whole incident that happened in Utah following the fatal tragedy to Charlie Kirk, and of course the light rail incident. Now, folks, I want to make this very clear. I'm very concerned about our society, my life. Even though there's a lot of things in my life are doing pretty well, we are living in very unusual, frightening times right now. Okay? I would probably argue the 90s was the last sane decade that we've had. Great decade. Because it seems like, because it's interesting, because we talk about 9/11, and it seems like the turn of the century, it really is like a turning point when you think about it. Or many might argue, since the Kennedy assassination, depending on how you look at things, a lot of things have just been going downhill. It's no wonder why when I watch like TRL of 1999, when I watch that game show hosted by Chuck Woolery, all his other game shows, Love Connection, you go down the line, you feel a sense of nostalgia. And you see how so much has gone downhill in our culture, our society, our economy. And the question is, are we really going to get a recovery from all of this anytime soon? Just the culture, the decline of the family, decline of values, the decline of entertainment, the quality of our music, movies, shows. This really affects, and just the sanity that we have in our society, just we've allowed this lunacy, just this lack of decency, care, that we're seeing all these tragedies happen day after day, and God knows what's going to happen tomorrow, next week. It's just so much going on. The news cycles are being clogged up. We're being distracted, and we can't even keep track of what's going on, one after the other. It's just unbelievable. And we've seen just things go down with the financial crisis of the late 2000s, the 2020 COVID mess. It's just one after another. I'm not going to get into like what I believed happened in 9/11, but it seems like our country has really just been in a very shaky, unpleasant ground. And we're just promised that, yes, things are going to get better, but in a lot of things. And yes, there has been a growing awakening. Yes, our ability to share news and information has improved. But the reality is a lot of things are not getting better, because the problem is just we have so many ugly powers that be, that things just continue to get worse and worse and worse. And this is just how I reflect what's been happening from 9/11. Think about it. 9/11 has really hurt the tourism economy behind me. And it seems like with that, because we have a lot of nostalgia for the 90s Vegas, a lot of boom activity. And with 9/11, the financial crisis, COVID, things just get worse and worse and worse. When are people finally going to hit the precipice and wake up? When are people going to finally hold these powerful people accountable? Now, let's just take a look at the light rail incident. Look, we've got a problem with our justice system, with our DA. They're too lenient. People that are committing constantly hating crimes are not being punished. Yet the people who aren't doing much are being gone after. It's really a two-sided system. Okay? This is just, even I've kind of experienced sort of like that years ago. You know what I'm talking about. It's just, there's just so much double standard in everything that's going on. And I feel like the system is just picking winners and losers, whether who has economic power, whether who's doing the right thing. But I want to get to all of this, is that I understand that incarceration, jailing has its issues, but we have to punish people. We have to keep violent people out of the streets. Now, we can change how people are spending time behind bars. We can help them, we can treat them, we can make sure they're sane people when they get out, because there has to be recovery. But the fact of the matter is, this was just a woman from Ukraine who just came to the United States for a better life, for safety. And this is what happens. It's unbelievable. And it makes you think, like, we're losing trust. This is making people more isolated. People just don't want to go out. They don't want to use public services because they feel that the outside world, strangers, are not to be trusted. I mean, it makes you think, by the way, why didn't anybody go there to help them? Because this is the thing. When you help, you could put yourself in trouble, and then the prosecutors and the DAs will go after the person who helped them. They're willing to defend the criminal more than the people who try to defend. This is the thing. Or probably the woman could have falsely accused the man who tried to help him. This is such a backward world that we live in. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this is why people think that, America should go back 70 years ago. Maybe this is why people believe that we have to separate, because they feel that there's a double standard. Now, am I advocating for, the rules of buses where certain people have to go in the back? No, I think it's absurd. But do you see why people had these beliefs? Do you see why people see the double standard? They see the lack of enforcement. They see why that they don't want to live in certain neighborhoods, interact with certain people, because they know that there is a concern that is likely going to arise. And they know that, and there's a lot of examples. What happened in Austin, what happened in, Ohio, what happened in a lot of different, actually here in Las Vegas, at the courthouse attack, when you look at the retired cop bicyclists, you look at the high school student that got murdered walking back home. People are seeing the reality. They're seeing the safety hazards. And when more and more people see this creates all these different perspectives and these different views, which then people then overreact to the other side. And this is kind of creates this contrast that we have right now. In fact, one of the issues is that I'm an advocate for more mass transit. And when you see more incidents, people are not going to want to use mass transit. They don't want to spend the kind of money building these things. They don't feel safe. You're going to get more congestion, more car payments, more taxes that have to fund car infrastructure, more land that is required to park the cars, more pollution, more health concerns, more or less social activity. All these problems that are coming out of car infrastructure, because we're not willing to create these places safe, willing to handle criminals, to deal with the homelessness, the drugs and everything, because we're not able to handle these things. This is why people feel more safe using mass transit system in other parts of the world, especially East Asia, because we can't handle a lot of the problems that we have now. Now, am I trying to point out that cars is somehow safer and better? No. There can be road rage. I heard one that happened here recently. Do you think that, women who are putting their groceries in their car in the parking lot, they're safe? No, I've heard a lot of issues at Walmarts. Think about it. People can get carjacked. But these kinds of incidents that's happened in Charlotte, this is why people don't feel comfortable even using the damn bus. Think about it. And we're trying to advocate for transit. Think about it. These taboo subjects need to be talked about. When you really think about it, it's like, what is the whole agenda behind this? Why are we pushing this? Why are they decriminalizing everything? What's the point behind cashless bail? Are they working with the criminals? Why are they reducing the sentence? Why are they releasing people early? What is the whole motive behind this? And we've seen this, especially in the last 15 years, with all these DAs. Think about it. And honestly, I don't trust this current DA that we have. I feel a lot of this there's an agenda in mind. There is an agenda that is anti-tradition, because they're promoting a race-based agenda. They believe that by prosecuting people in jail, the system is double standard. Well, and actually, when you think about it, when you try to help disadvantaged people by destroying their family structure, by outsourcing their jobs, making them compete with migrants, when you essentially, hijack, infiltrate the unions, all these factors, that reduces opportunity and that increases the chance of committing crimes. Because environment does matter. Poverty is not something that's going to reduce crime. That's one of the things. And speaking of tradition, we lost somebody about a day ago who was a huge figure of tradition, of the values, especially Western values, the values that built this country. And I saw this individual, and you could see the YouTube video last October. It is unbelievable what has happened to Charlie Kirk. When I first heard about it, I was like, what the hell? Am I dreaming right now? What's going on? And next thing you know, I find out, yeah, he was killed. And it was surprising and not surprising at the same time, because it was like, I can't believe this has happened. Like, first of all, why wasn't there much protection security to block all this from happening? Wouldn't they have a level of protection? Like, this could not be happening. This must be an error. But the other thing was that he was a very hated individual by so many people. And do I agree with a lot of things that he pointed out? No. But I think he was a guy of reason, very civil debate, willing to talk to people, willing to address the issues. I tried to talk to him about family court, and then he just recently retweeted about how new family court divorce laws has impacted the divorce procedures in Kentucky. So they were really on to something. Charlie Kirk was a very traditional in nature, how he dressed, how he presented himself, Christian, European descent, straight, really what America used to be and what he wants to preserve. And I think they hated that he was married, he had kids at a young age, he was able to build success. They just despised that. He was a symbol that was influencing so many men, and actually all sorts of people, but some types more than others. That's one of the things. And just the influence was unbelievable. Of course, he was one of the reasons why young men especially shifted in the last few elections. There's no question about it. He was an important symbol. And he's made a huge difference in a lot of campuses, because for years and decades, campuses have been pushing a narrative that tradition, that the ways that our parents and grandparents used to live, the values of family, the gender roles, they're pushing of double standard in race and everything. It's got to stop. It doesn't make sense. It does not work. And he was able to have a rational debate. And I think the media and academia has infiltrated the minds of these people so much that they just couldn't stand it. That they felt the hate when they were hearing the truth. And to an extent, it was the truth. I can't say all of it. But even if you disagreed with his views, it's disgusting how you think violence is the way to do it. Now, first of all, I think this is really backfiring. I think his support is going to explode over time. I think this will have an effect on the midterm elections. However, using violence, and it doesn't matter what your views are, whether you like the person, it is the most disgusting, despicable thing ever. Just because you don't like somebody's stand for does not mean that you take somebody's life thinking that he deserved it, that he was expressing his mind, he was using his First Amendment. Like, we do this to people as if we're banana republics. And when you have people like even Chris Cuomo calling this stuff out, Stephen A. Smith. This tells you everything they need to know. And more people are seeing that. And you have these pundits on the media, the legacy establishment, corporate media, not sharing condolences. Now, again, I don't know exactly what happened. I mean, look, it's hard to believe these conspiracies of what happened, why he was assassinated or whatever. But I can tell you that I am just very disappointed in how some people reacted to this. Okay. And luckily, I didn't see a lot of nasty responses from our elected officials in the state. Station Casinos did have a ad displaying his memory. It's hard to say if I would have done the same because I kind of just want to stay away from politics if I'm doing business. But it's just absolutely disgusting. I'm just sick. I just don't know. And I feel like the question I want to ask is, why couldn't he have done this indoors? Because I remember when I saw Charlie Kirk, he was at UNLV, he was outside. I mean, heck, it's climate controlled indoors, maybe less likely for pests to come in. I don't know, why would he do it outdoors? Like when I saw Tommy Lauren at UNLV, it was in an indoor venue. Why would Charlie Kirk do this in an outdoor venue? Seriously. That's what I want to know. That's what I would think about Donald Trump for what happened to him in Pennsylvania about a year ago. Why do they have these venues outdoors? I would have had it indoors, as a matter of fact. But here's the problem, though. All these stories, all these tragedies are just so much, it's hard to keep track. Now we've kind of lost focus of the Ukrainian woman, the National Guard, the gerrymandering, the truck driving incident. It's just one after another. But folks, we're living in sane times, and we have our differences, and as long as we have good hearts, we have to come together. Let me tell you actually something. What happened to me earlier today. I met somebody who I've been Facebook friends for years, and we have a few agreements, we have some disagreements, but we're able to come together, shake our hands, talk about the issues. She wasn't a fan of the president, about what they're doing, a lot of different issues, the governor. But I guess we can all agree. We're tired of the healthcare system. We're tired of Wall Street. We don't think this economy is working for us. Think about it. And I told her, if you want a candidate for 2028, you got to work on that. Because I don't think Newsom's going to defeat the next Republican nominee. A lot of the polls are showing it. So we had a good discussion. We have to celebrate our differences. Just because we have differences of opinion doesn't mean they're insults. This insanity has to stop. Think about it. Because who knows? Maybe she's proven right. Look, times are tough. I'm still having a good life. Stock markets are all-time highs. I've got good health. I'm having a good social life. I'm enjoying my life. I'm looking to do a lot of business startups. Financially, I'm doing well. I'm enjoying my life. It could be better, but I'm just glad it's not worse. It does seem to me, however, that I'm living in unnecessarily very difficult times. And sometimes I see myself, man, I wish I was my age in the 1980s and 1990s, where things were saner. It's unfortunate that I have to be in this reality and deal with all this unnecessary chaos because a bunch of few powerful elites don't want it this way. Because a bunch of private equity, Wall Street, zombies, bastards, don't want us to live a better life. And I think they're more dangerous and disgusting than anything else. We need some normalcy. Okay? And this does feel like we're in a war. It doesn't have to be necessarily a war with tanks and all these different things, grenades. But it's a war that's transferring through online, through boycotts, through a lot of different avenues. And I just don't want to see this war to escalate. But maybe it has to, because things have to get to the point where things can come to a level of insanity. Sanity, yeah. So what do you guys think? We've been through so much, folks. This is a wake-up call, what we're going through. I think a lot of the last several events in the last 25 years should have been a wake-up call. 9/11, COVID, with the mask, vaccines, and jabs. Actually, the frustration is still with us, folks. Prices are not pleasing a lot of people, making ends meet, which was largely a result of COVID. Think about it. People are upset it didn't turn out the way it promised. The financial crisis, we really haven't fixed that problem yet. The housing market is experiencing a downturn in many cities across the country. What is this? Come on. We don't have to live like this. We have all these resources to create an abundance and a better life. And we're here doing foolish things. And it's kind of childish, folks. Knock it off. So you let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Great pleasure. And please spread this video.